Hi, welcome to tonight's episode of Rydes N Vybes. So, tonight's episode is not sponsored. However, if you would like to become a Rydes N Vybes sponsor, feel free to reach out to me and we will talk and figure out what it is that you're trying to do with your business or brand. If you are unfamiliar with the reach of the show, feel free to take a look at a reel that I have pinned to my profile, and you can take a look and see the numbers that the page and the brand does. Now that we got that out the way, let me just say this. Tonight's guest is 46 to 64. Let me tell you guys, y'all know I love this car stuff, and I'm so super excited to have him on. So I just seen him join. While he gets on, you guys make sure that if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you go click the link in the bio and subscribe.
Hey,
Hey there. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm on.
Listen, let me say this. I have been waiting for this episode. I might be, and I say this to a lot of the guests, I'm probably more excited to have you guys on the show than
Oh
the
yeah.
fans are, because I just love this car stuff. And then when we can talk about the type of stuff that we're going to get to talk about tonight, I really, really am
Mhm.
over the moon happy about this.
Oh yeah. I just wanted to check my connection, make sure it's good. Can
Yeah.
you hear me? Okay, good,
I can hear you.
good. Yeah, because I'm like kind of out in the boonies right now, so.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's
yeah.
breaking up just a little bit, but I think we're gonna be able to get through it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Ask any questions. I'm here to talk for sure.
So first, I'll start off with one of my questions, and then I'll get right into the fans' questions. Okay?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no problem.
All right. So tell me how you got started being into cars.
So I got started being into cars when I was a little young kid. My dad had a '67 Chevelle convertible. It was like blue metal flake. It had a white vinyl top, and it was a really cool car. I was on Craigers, and he was into cars back when I was a kid. And then he started bringing me to car shows and that. And I started going to local car shows where I grew up at, and that's really what got me into cars at a really young age. So my dad being into muscle cars, and then down the street from me where I grew up in Michigan, a guy had a T-bucket. Do you know what a T-bucket is?
Hmm.
It's a hot rod Ford, and and then in the driveway he had a like a '80s BMW M5. So I was
Okay.
surrounded, yeah. So I was like surrounded by all this different car culture, and at a young age that kind of just brought me into it, and I was like, yeah, I want to be into this, and ever since then I've been hooked. So yeah.
Let me say. Okay, so that's how you got initially into cars. How did you get
Yeah.
into being into lowriders?
So into lowrider history, I started out with custom cars, and where I'm from in Michigan, there's a big scene called KKOA. It was called Custom Kemps of America, and that was like old '50s cars that were like chopped, had flames on the paint job that were lowered and stuff like that. They called them lead sleds, and being into stuff like that. When you study the history of customs, it eventually leads to lowriders, like the early lowrider stuff. And being into early lowriders, it kind of drew me into all different aspects of it. Like, when did the hydraulics start? When did the people start putting wire wheels on their cars? When did people start using Astro Supremes or start doing this trend or hopping and stuff like that? So from being into custom cars, it kind of led me into the lowrider history, and that's what I'm really focusing on right now is early lowrider history.
Right. I saw so much of your stuff, and the fact that you are a younger guy and then focusing on lowrider history, I'm like, I don't know how these two go together, because it seems like you would be, if you were around during that time, okay, of course it would be appealing to you.
Oh
But
yeah,
being that you're way, way, way younger than these guys,
yeah.
I was like, dang, I wonder what gave him that idea.
Yeah, so what gave me the yeah, that was what gave me the idea was being into custom cars and just being so immersed in it is that people really document the '70s and up with lowrider history. And I studied like '50s custom cars and '60s custom cars. So going from this that gap period of like the late '50s to like the early '70s, it really wasn't covered that much because Lowrider magazine came out in 1977.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff pre 1977 is undocumented history. So that's why I was like, you know what? Let me dive into this even more and do this early 60s to like the mid 60s. And it's been unfolding a lot of things that people haven't heard about or like seen in years and stuff like that. So
it really sucks that they did not document a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing on your page. Even
yeah.
like I'm kind of more into I'm into big rim racing, but I'm also into just racing in general.
Hmm.
I came across a lady, I can't really think of her name right now. She's been on my show.
Yeah.
She was drag racing back in the day.
Oh
And
wow. That's
and
awesome.
I'm like, and you don't hear too much about her. So like you said, only the 70s and
Yeah.
going forward, a lot of that stuff is documented.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So 77 and up is when Lowrider magazine came out. And I'm half Mexican. So like seeing like as a young like partially Chicano person, seeing like the Lowrider magazine stuff was like really inspiring to me. And I always thought it was just like Chicano only growing up, but after doing all the research that I've done and like, hearing the stories from people, it was a multiracial thing and it was multiple people from different cultures and different neighborhoods were all into it. And that's what I'm starting to find out now. So, and I really enjoy hearing everyone's stories. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the infamous Murphy Brothers interviews. That's when I kind of became
Oh, yeah.
aware of you, and I just sat there, and it was just so interesting to me.
Hmm.
How did you come across them?
How did I come across Bob and Victor? So I did a lot of research on a guy named Bill Hines. He's a famous car customizer. And Bill Hines, I met his grandson Mitch when we became really close friends because I started documenting the first Impala ever to have hydraulics in it. It's a 1959 Impala called the Buddha Buggy, and it was built in 1962. And Bill Hines built that car. He put hydraulics in it in 1962. And after like studying Bill Hines' history, I met his son Mike, and that's my friend Mitch's dad. And after meeting Mike, he brought up Bob Murphy and Victor Murphy from Compton, and he was like, the Murphy brothers were like some of the first lowriders in Compton, and they had really customized cars with beautiful interiors, beautiful paint jobs. You should definitely try and find them. So I got a hold of Bob Murphy, and I set up an interview with Bob first. And then he was going to set up an interview with his brother Victor, but I had to wait a couple months because he had to gather photographs and just get it all dialed in. And once we got it together, I interviewed Victor. I ended up finding out he's actually the earliest documented black man with a lowrider. So, like with hydraulic lifts and stuff like that. And then hearing his stories about, being the first guy in Compton to have a lowrider with hydraulics, it was just pretty incredible. So that's how I met them was through Bill Hines' family who built their cars.
So I'm sure Bill Hines' family has been able to introduce you to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool because what happens is Mike has recently passed, unfortunately, but sorry, my dogs are barking.
Okay.
But yeah, Mike recently passed, but honestly, learning from Mike about like the names, the here and there, I do a lot of research and then I track people down. So that's how I got a hold of a couple people, but then they would put me in contact with people they knew. So it's kind of like a give and take thing, a two-way street where we provide information to each other and we, study history. So yeah.
So, $1 million question: do you have a lowrider?
I don't right now because I just moved across the country, but I plan on building one. Yeah, I actually want to build a car like Victor Murphy's. So I want to
Really?
build a Corvair. Yeah, I want to build a Corvair Monza, early 60s style with hydraulics in it, Supremes, all that cool stuff. So that's something I really want to do. Probably in the next year, I'll be starting on that.
So with the custom cars that I'm into,
Mhm.
and that a lot of people in like my, in my neck of the woods are into, they
Mhm.
they don't even hold a candle to them lowriders. Listen, I talked
Mhm.
to at this point now, TJ from Avenue Convertibles. He's a friend of mine, and he's in the Lowrider Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So when I started going out, he's from Vegas. So when I
Yep.
started going out to Vegas and talking to him and interviewing him and just listening to what he had to say about the lowriders,
Mhm.
you need to really be ready to spend some money
Mhm.
when you're gonna build a lowrider.
Yeah.
Because they got
Yeah, they can get expensive.
engraving, all type of stuff. It is. They spend a lot of money on those
Oh,
cars.
oh yeah, so much money on them. I mean, it could get into the hundreds of thousands, like multiple hundreds of thousands when they build these cars. You have to think just the paint alone without graphics or stuff like that. That's really expensive. Then you factor in upholstery, chrome plating, framework. You can't just put a lowrider like a hopper. You can't just put a standard frame in a hopper. You have to have reinforced frame, and then you have to bodywork the frame. You know what I mean? So it's expensive for sure. It's an expensive hobby to be into.
I think cars are expensive hobby. Period.
Oh
Hobby.
yeah.
Period. But when you start to get into them low riders, and even that stuff that the Murphy brothers were saying that they were into. I can okay, so the cost of living is nothing, and prices are nothing like they were back in the day.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure back in the days they had to spend a lot of money. What was considered a lot of money back then? Did they get into
Oh
pricing with you at all?
yeah. Oh yeah. So Victor's car is interesting. He actually worked at the LA Coliseum, if you know where that's at. It's downtown LA. It's kind of by where the Lakers play at Crypto
Yeah.
Arena. So he used to work there back in like 1958. He started working there. And he would go there and sell Coca-Colas, and then also run the gates and stuff like that, the ticket booth. He bought his car brand new from Felix Chevrolet, his Corvair, in 1961. Bought it in 1961, and then he started customizing it in like 1962, early 62. He would go to like this place called Dave's Home of Chrome, which was down the street in Compton. He'd buy like accessories like spotlights, baby moon hubcaps, stuff like that. So he, at an early age, he was working and putting money into the car. And then when he got Bill Hines involved, I mean, Bill Hines did a candy paint job on it. He had Eddie Martinez do a full custom interior. Bill added the lifts, which the lifts were expensive back then because they were pretty much brand new in 1963. That's like brand new technology for custom cars. I mean, he didn't tell me an exact dollar amount, but I know he spent more than what the car was worth at the time
Right.
putting it into it.
Right.
So,
Because I wonder how much I would have to look up and see how much one of those cars costed back then. Because what we think, what was expensive back then, like a brand new car might cost you $6,000, $7,000. That's
yeah.
not a lot to us now, but back then, $7,000 was a whole lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hmm.
being that that was the
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
they spending what 15,000 to 20,000 on customizations on the car maybe, and that was
Hmm.
a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing. I'm talking about Victor and Bob specifically. When Victor bought his Corvair brand new, that was the cheapest model set Chevrolet sold at the time. But he wanted to individualize it. He wanted to customize it and make it his own, and put his own personality into it. So that's why he spent so much money, more than the car was worth with Bill Hines,
Right.
to make it his own. But Bob got his car in 1966, and he bought a 1957 Bel Air, which that car was an old car in 1966. And they weren't worth that much money. They were trading hands for like $150, $200, like
Wow.
back in the 60s. And that was about 1,500 to 2,000 to $3,000 back then. So they both had cheaper cars, but they dumped so much money into them, customizing it, individualizing them, and making them their own. And that's why I love the story of the Murphy brothers, because and they also drove their cars. They weren't show trailer queens or anything like that. They hardcore lowrided all over LA. I mean, they were going up to Pasadena, to San Bernardino, to the IE, all the way down to Long Beach, to West LA, all kinds of stuff. They were driving these cars all over the place and showing them at the same time. So they were like true definition lowrider brothers. So very cool story with Bob and Victor Murphy.
So who have been some of the people that you have met outside of the Murphy brothers that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I found them?
Walter Peterson, Big Earl. Big
Mm-hmm.
Earl Peterson. They call him Squid. He's from Compton, but he moved to like Inglewood area in like the 70s. He's from Palm Lane in Compton, but he is really cool. He started at a young age. He was kind of influenced by Bob Murphy. He was an early 70s lowrider. So he was hitting the streets from like 1970 to like 77, 78, somewhere around there. And he was into cars they call
Yeah.
hoopties. So, and but all right, so black lowriders call them hoopties, but Chicano lowriders call them bombs. They're like 46 through like let's say 1954 Chevys, that era of Chevrolets. And it was really cool to meet him and see that he was doing this bomb style of lowrider back in the early 70s when a lot of people thought it was only like a Chicano thing. They thought bomb lowriders like Fleetline Chevys. I'm talking like 49 to 52 Fleetline Chevys, 47 Fleetline Chevys with like the slant back.
Right.
He was building these full custom with lifts, custom interior, fresh chrome, candy paint, custom wheels in the 70s, and meeting him and hearing his stories are just incredible. He's a great storyteller. So if you go to my page and look like see Earl Peterson, just watch his videos. He always has great stories and tells them in such a unique way. So
You know what I find out about most of the people who are around the car culture
mhm.
early on? A lot of them are great storytellers. Like they'll
Oh
have you
yeah.
sitting there like picturing
Mhm.
what it was like to be riding down the street with them
Yeah.
in their cars in the old days. And I'm
Mhm.
like, these people really, really, and so many of their stories are untold. It's
Yeah.
still gonna be people like that. Now that you're telling these stories, it's still gonna be people that have died, people that you're
Mhm.
not gonna be able to find, people
Oh
that
yeah.
you'll never really be able to get the stories from them.
I run into that all the time. It's so sad because there's this guy named John Derrick. I thought his name was John Derrick. And Bill Hines built his car as well, another black lowrider from the 60s. But he was showing his car competing with all the white boys who had lowriders, all of the Chicanos who had lowriders. But he had a beautiful 58 Chevy Impala. It had a 58 Buick grill, or 57 Buick grill in it, extended, so it looked like a waterfall. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
tangerine metal flake color. It had like deep dish Astro Supremes. I was like, I gotta find this guy. Gotta find this guy. So I started posting the videos of Bill Hines' hydraulics and the cars he built. And that guy's son commented on the video. Finally, we got a hold of the family, but unfortunately, he had passed away. So it's like you run into that brick wall sometimes of like trying to track down car history, and then all of a sudden you're like, dang it, you know. But then you can talk to the family, bring back memories, and then you can kind of share stories with each other, and then photos sometimes surface up, and then we document their story and make it live on forever pretty much on the internet. So
I'm gonna tell you what one thing that I was fortunate enough to be able to do before he passed away.
hmm.
So now when I was young, I always used to watch East Coast Riders. Let me just
Okay.
tell you, I just knew that I was I was an East Coast rider, and I wasn't even old enough.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But before God bless the dead, before Murph passed away,
Hmm.
because he was like he had a dump, and it was a coach dump,
Okay.
and
Yep.
he would race it as well. So
Yep.
I became friends with him before he passed away. When I tell you, when Murph came to follow me on Instagram, you would have thought the president of the United States came to follow me. I was like, okay, I can die now. I'm done.
Yep.
Murph follows me,
You
and
know.
not only did he came to follow me, we actually became friends in real life.
Yep.
Those are the things that I live for when it comes to this car stuff. What
Hmm.
are some of the things that you have been able to accomplish and you've been like, oh my God, I can't believe this?
Well, first of all, I want to say I know that feeling you have of like it's like meeting your hero in the car world and then finding out they're cool. It's
Right.
one of the coolest things in the world. I would say, man, there's this guy named Tom Kelly. He's a pinstriper, and I have
Okay.
studied like custom culture, and I've studied the history of custom paint and stuff like that. He's actually one of the first people to airbrush T-shirts, custom airbrush
Oh
T-shirts.
wow.
So he was doing this way back in the early to mid '50s with a guy named Ed Roth, who Ed Roth is like really famous for that. They worked together, but I ended up meeting Tom Kelly and documenting some of his stories, and meeting him was like I'm actually meeting someone who's living history. Like he was there. He saw the evolution of these cars. He actually invented the lowrider style of pinstriping that when they put it on the rear quarter window, like the rear quarter window that rolls up and down on hard tops, he would put names on them. He actually invented that. So it was cool to meet someone who was an innovator. And, after documenting his history, I was just like, wow, like kind of blown away that I was talking to someone who was actually there from the era I was studying.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes, it's a lot of, and we've talked a little, off here, but it's a lot of things that I think deserve to be documented in the car culture. Not just lowriders,
Right.
not just dumps, not just box Chevys, not just whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of stuff that when people start to scratch the surface
Mm-hmm.
are things that are gonna come out and we're gonna be like, dang, I didn't know that. Like just with the Murphy brothers, I was like, dang, I didn't know that. Because like you said, the Lowrider magazine only detailed from 77 on, right? So I
Yeah.
would have never knew it was black guys in Compton with lowriders.
Yeah, here, trip out on this. This is something that blew my mind. So I always thought Lowrider Magazine was the first Lowrider magazine, like that had lowriders in it. But if you go farther back than that, there's a magazine called Soulful Wheels. It came out in 1972. So that's years before Lowrider Magazine. And that article, that's a black-owned magazine, and it has lowriders in it, like a bunch of lowriders, and it features the owners, the cars, it shows where they were built, and it's like this is like a predecessor to Lowrider Magazine, but it's a black Lowrider magazine, but it came out before Lowrider Magazine, but no one ever talks about it because it only had a couple issues. So it's like if Soulful Wheels, here's something I think about, if Soulful Wheels would have came out and got as big as Lowrider Magazine, the narrative would have shifted completely on who believes whose culture it belongs to, or who believes who invented what. Because I always get into that. People always get into that argument on my page when I post someone like Victor or Earl Peterson, who's a black lowrider. They'll get in the comments and say, Chicanos did it first, or white people did it first, and I'm like, hey, let's stop talking about color. I think a lot of people were doing it at this same time. Let's just respect the stories that Victor or Bob or Earl are talking about, and let's appreciate it, And no matter what's the color of their skin or where they're from, let's just appreciate all their stories. So that's one thing I trip out on that I found out about was Soulful Wheels, that it actually came out before Lowrider Magazine, and it's kind of eye-opening to me because I was like, as a youth when I was into cars, I always thought Lowrider Magazine came out in the 70s. That was the first magazine about lowriders. And then finding out about that, it was like a huge deal for me. So, and I just found out about that this past year. So,
Were you able to find any of those magazines?
I found one. There's one. A guy named Standard Cycles. He's a chopper builder. He has an issue, and I was like, "What, dude?" So I had him take a picture of every single page. I'm like, "Take a picture of every single page for me, so I can look up the cars, the bikes, the choppers." It's not just lowriders in that magazine. It's custom motorcycles too, and that's a lot of things. I'm also into choppers too. I'm into old school chopper motorcycles, and studying that is like pretty crazy because it's like a lot of people think choppers like, oh, big, big white biker dude with a beard. But like if you go to Compton or you go to like Watts or something like that, they have a lot of black MCs, a lot of black motorcycle clubs, and their history is so deep with it and stuff like that. So it's cool to learn about that as well. It kind of it's cool. It's cool to learn about it and give it the shine it deserved, because a lot of back in the 70s, it was kind of in the 60s and 70s, like the white magazines like Carcraft, you would never see Carcraft in the 60s putting, lowriders and stuff in it.
Right.
But in the 70s, it got a little bit better. And then now you'll see a lot more unification. But back then, it was just a little different. But it was just cool to find out about Soulful Wheels. I thought that was an awesome magazine. So.
Have you been able to find out who actually were the creators of the magazine?
Yeah, Lucky Jamal Davis was the creator of that magazine. And he's a musician. So I looked him up. He has like a couple 45 records. I think he did like R&B music back in the 70s. So yeah, I actually found out about that. And then when I interviewed Earl Peterson, he put his car inside the Soulful Wheels car show. So
is he still around or has he passed away?
I found some of his family members actually on Facebook. See, when I track people down, I do a lot of tracing on Facebook, like add them as a friend, be like, hey, did you have a car back in the day? Did you know this person? Did you know that person? So I found some of his family members on Facebook. It just takes some time to reach out to those people and get the story going and the history going. So
Yeah, it's not to mention people like, who is this? Who is this guy reaching out to me? What is he talking about? You know what I mean?
yeah. So it's kind of difficult when I do that. Sometimes I have to send photos of a car they had, or send photos, or be like, hey, I'm writing an article, a history article on your family's old car they had. Can we talk about it? I kind of have to give that like olive branch of, hey, I'm here for positive stuff. I'm here to be, document history, and then we can get the story going. So
Yeah. You know, I've been doing my show for going on. This is I'm going into my 6th year, right?
mm-hmm.
I think about when I first started the show, and the only thing that made me start the show was people would ask me questions, like maybe they would see me and you talking, and then they ask me questions. Hey, does Ross or is Ross? I'm like, bro, I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
He talks to me, like we're into cars, so he talks to me.
Yep.
And when people would ask me questions to ask the guys, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start a talk show.
Oh yeah.
So way back in 2019, I started the show, and that was when like IG Live was fairly new, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back then, remember, you could only bring 2 people on.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
you can have 4 people on, right?
Oh yeah.
But it was a great time. But I also think about how many people left me on red. Like I sent them a DM.
I know how that goes.
To ask them to come on. Right. I sent them a DM to ask them to come on the show. Even
Yep.
people who, like, at this point now, we're cool. Like, I have their phone number. They have my phone number. But they used to, what's so crazy is I screenshotted all those things and kept them in my phone to keep me humble, right?
Yep.
So no matter how many followers I get, or how much influence I get, or how many people know me, I keep those to say to me, first of all, don't get a big head. And secondly, people only know you for what they know you for, right?
Right.
And once I feel like most people don't support you until it's popular to support you, right?
Yeah.
They'll look at your Instagram and see how many followers you have and who you're associated with and who follows you. And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do it. But back then, I didn't have the reach I have now, you know? So those same people, sometimes I want to say something to them, right? Sometimes I want to be like, hey, listen, back in 2019, you left me on red.
Mm-hmm. I know how
But
you
I
feel.
don't. I'm just like, it is what it is, you know?
I feel the same way, because it's like you're trying your hardest, and people just want that. Some people just, I don't know, it makes me feel a little weird about some people's intentions.
Yeah.
Like, like some things are like, I reach out on a positive note for car culture and stuff to people, and they don't mess with me. Back then, I know how you feel. And then now they see like, oh, this video got so many views. Like, oh, we want to work with you now. It's like, come on. Are you in it for the culture? Are you in it for the clout and the money? I know how you feel. Yeah.
Right,
It's so
right.
stupid. Yeah.
Like how they say there are car guys and then guys with cars.
Yep.
Oh, you a guy with a car, or you want to aspire to be associated with somebody now, because back then when I reached out to you, you didn't deal with me. And I sometimes really want to say something to them. Because I try to be like, when you're building your brand, you want to try to be politically correct.
Yeah.
But sometimes I want to say, hey, I don't even want to deal with you. You left me on red.
Yep. I know exactly how you feel with that. And I'm not a huge fan of like trying to like, climb the ladder in the industry of like where I'm at by wanting to work with so and so or work with so and so. Like for you, for instance, I'm not into like really particularly into dunk culture or like, that kind of stuff. I can appreciate the cars. I think they're beautiful. I think some of the builds are amazing.
Right.
And I love horsepower, and I know they have horsepower. And but I wanted to work with you because you reached out to me like and wanted to just discuss car history, and you wanted to just have a car conversation with each other. And I respect that. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter who it is. You were just so respectful in the DM, and you're like, hey, let's talk about the car history. Let's talk a little bit about me and what I'm into. I'm like, let's do it.
Right.
Let's link up, because I like to build those bonds and connections with people, because I like to meet new people in the car world, but also you never know what could happen. This could go viral. Good could come of it. It could be put food on your table, food on my table. So you don't
Nice.
know. So yeah, I'm always
I
into
think
linking up with people.
And I think what was amazing too was,
Mhm.
first of all, I was just excited to be talking to you, right?
Yeah.
And then I was excited that you were excited to be talking to the lowrider people. I was like, oh my god! Let me tell you that something. When we got off the phone that night,
Hmm.
I couldn't go to sleep for hours.
That's so cool.
I
That's
was
cool.
like,
I
and
was
you,
stoked
like I
too.
said, you would have thought I talked to the president of the United States. Because when I get to talk to, like, now, I know so many people in not only just the urban car culture, like people who like street outlaws people and just
Mhm.
different people. Like I'm really good friends with Smoke from Street Outlaws. Like, not
Okay.
to really drop names, but it
Oh yeah.
all only came from my love for cars,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're genuine,
Mhm.
people can see that. So when
Yep.
you were genuine, even seeing that through your video, I was like, oh, I gotta talk to him.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you would have said no, just so you know, the guys will tell you and the girls will tell you, I am gonna harass you. I'm gonna send you a DM every 2-3 months and be like, have you reconsidered?
Yeah. No, I was down. I was down. I just love talking about cars and all that stuff. And I'm into custom cars. No matter what the realm of cars I'm into, I generally am into custom cars. And I throw the whole donk culture into custom cars because it's customizing the car. Like, you're changing the paint, you're changing the interior, you're changing the wheels, you're putting sounds in the car, which I love sounds, like sound systems and stuff like that. So, you know, I just appreciate it. I'm an eclectic guy when it comes to music and cars and stuff like that.
I
So,
can't wait to see when you build your lowrider. Because let me tell you, I've been in TJ's shop in Vegas. First of all, when he showed me that lowrider Hall of Fame ring,
mhm.
I was like, oh.
Pretty sweet, huh? Yeah, yeah, man.
I was like,
They don't play. These lowriders don't play when it comes to getting down with the rings. Like even at Rick Ross's car show, those key necklaces he has, like those
right.
are crazy. All kinds of stuff. So yeah, I'm into all the showmanship and stuff. That's something lowriders are when they show up, like a club like the Majestics, let's say, they are buttoned down. Their jackets are clean. Their cars are dialed in. Everything. Like, it's such a cool culture to be around and see in person.
Right.
So car club culture in general, I really enjoy studying it and seeing it out at the shows. So.
I could never, for the life of me, figure out why they would build a beautiful car like that and then
Hmm.
bounce it up and down on the cement and break parts off the car. Till I found out they do so much reinforcing.
Oh, so
They
much.
have so many plates. They have so much stuff. Like, I went to TJ's shop one time and he hopped his car in the shop, and I was
In the
like,
shop. Yeah, there's it's not easy to build those cars too because it's like there's a lot of math involved of making things, articulate properly. Also, the reinforcement. You got to be like some sort of a structural engineer to make sure, hey, this X frame's not going to bend or twist or that. Or like extending the wheelbase in some of these hoppers cars. Like you'll see on some G bodies, the wheels will be way outside the wheel wells. That way they can get more, force going up in different angles and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see the lowriders and how they build these cars, especially the hoppers. That's performance hydraulics. It's not simple hydraulics. They're using batteries, different pumps, different types of cylinders. It's pretty incredible. So.
yeah, well, like I told TJ, if you ask me, y'all crazy. But I guess people think, like, I think a lot of people, like, if you're a regular person, you think car
Hmm.
people are crazy anyway, because why would we take these old cars
Hmm.
and put new money into them? Because if you think about it, like the car that I'm building, every time they sent me something saying they needed another part or they found more rust on the car, you know that noise your cash out make when you get money?
Yep. Yep.
That's the noise
That's the
it
noise.
made to me. And
Yep.
I'm like, I can't, but I'll never build another car. Well, I guess you can't never say never, but I'm not never building another one from the. It's gonna have to already be built, and I'll just change the paint
Partial
and the wheels.
partial build, and then you just make it your own. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't wait to build one. I'm an old school guy. I love old school cars. I love the history. So I'm gonna build something historically accurate. You know,
Right.
I'm not gonna put Dayton's on a Corvair Monza if I'm building a Corvair Monza. If I build a Corvair Monza, I'm gonna put Supremes, Astro Supremes or Kraggers, one of those wheels, and one of the early lowrider wheels. And
Right.
I'm not gonna make it a hopper. I'm gonna make it lay and scrape because a lot of the old school lowriders from the 70s and 60s, they wanted to lay. They wanted to be low, like I mean, on the ground, scraping, putting titanium blocks underneath it and throwing sparks and all that stuff. And that's what they wanted to do, you know? So if I build one, it's going to be in that particular 60s era, probably a Corvair Monza, customized with custom paint. I'm going to put a 45 record player in it. I'm going to put a color bar, a 4-track tape player in it. You know, I'm going to do all the trick 60s stuff because I love traditional stuff and I'm a car historian. You know, if I was going to build like, eventually I will probably build like a 90s style, like Impala or something on Dayton's, you know, something that can hop or 3-wheel. But I'm really into the early stuff. I'm really into that early stuff, you know, so I'll probably build like a Corvair Monza. That's going to be my next car. So.
You'll probably have the whole. You'll probably have a fleet. You'll probably start in the early days and then go over. You gonna spend a lot of money. I
I
hope
know. I
you make a
know.
lot of money because you gonna spend a lot of money on them lowrider things.
Yeah, I'm into all different eras of custom car culture. So I'll probably eventually like the dream rig, the dream setup down the road, years down the road for me is I want like a late 50s style custom. So like in California, probably actually around the whole United States. A custom car would have been like lowered with like side pipes and you know, some cool like flames or like scallop paint, which is like a unique paint design. It's like lowrider patterns, but before they were called lowrider patterns. So I do something like that, like a 55 Chevy with white wall tires, and then I'll do something like Victor's car, and then something 70s with like lots of metal flake in it and a little tiny steering wheel like this big. But yeah, that's I'd like to have like 3 generations of like lowered cars, you know,
And then
50s, 60s, 70s.
and then you talking about Dayton's like listen, Dayton's are not cheap anymore.
Oh
They
no,
never
they're
were
expensive.
cheap.
Yeah.
But when I tell you how much these guys spending on Dayton's now, and I was thought about putting Dayton's on my G body, but I said my heart will not let me spend
Mm-hmm.
$18,000 to $20,000 on those Dayton's. That's my heart.
Yeah. What size datum was it? If you're gonna put them on your G body, what size would you put on them? On it.
So I probably would do. If I was gonna go with standard rims, I would go with 24s because that's just standard. I'm not doing any shortening of the rear end or any
Yeah.
none of that stuff, right?
Right.
But I guess if I was gonna go with Dayton's, I probably would go with 22s.
Yeah. 22s would look good on a G body.
Yeah.
What year's your G body?
It's an 86 SST top.
It's a great car. What
Yeah.
color
Yeah.
is it?
It's custom. I'm gonna send you the pictures of it.
Yeah.
I have went through the whole thing. I have went through the whole car. It had a lot of rust. It's got all the paint and body work done. Now it's at the motor and transmission shop. I did it backwards because I had to get into that particular paint shop while I could, because they were backed up, you know, like booked up. So I had to go to them while I could. You don't want to be in paint jail. Yes, because that's where most people are still to this day.
Oh yeah.
They're in paint jail.
Luckily.
So after it gets done there, I'm sorry to me cut you off.
I was gonna say about paint jail. Luckily, both of my best friends are custom car painters. So
that's what's up.
If one of them's booked, I can go to another one. So yeah. And I didn't even mean it to be that way. They're painters. So
yeah,
you know, luckily, yeah, hopefully I'll never be caught in paint jail, fingers crossed. But yeah, a lot of people get stuck there.
Thank God I'm not in paint jail. So and then not to mention, I tell people all the time, us being into custom cars, it'll probably be cheaper for us to smoke crack, for real. Because these cars, this stuff is expensive, especially me. I'm single. All the money that I spend on the car is me spending money on the car or sponsors helping out along the way or something like that. So now the car is at the motor and transmission shop. Then it's going up to stitch by slick for the interior.
Yep.
Then I still got to figure out what rims. And now that everything is getting super, super, super expensive, I need to go ahead and get my rims now, for real, before I get the car. So, before I get the car back. So, all of these things are things that, like, I really wish if I could get the money back that I had already spent in the car, I probably would sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see it through at this point.
Yeah, you got to finish your build because it's custom cars are like I always say it's like an extension of the owner. It's like a part of you, and you got to see your artistic vision come to fruition. You know, so you got to see it in the end stage. And I think once you see it in the end stage, you probably won't want to get rid of it. You'll probably keep it.
Listen, so if you have not owned your dream car,
Mm-hmm.
what is your dream car to own?
Oh, that's a great question. I would probably want a '59 Impala Sport Coupe hardtop, two-door hardtop. Yeah.
What?
I like '59 Impalas a lot. I think they're such a unique looking car, and I would build it 60s style, 60s lowrider style, all day long. Yep.
So you want like so when your favorite, you know what my favorite older car like that is? The one ZZ Top used to drive.
Oh yeah, they had a '34 Ford Coupe.
I
Yep.
love it.
Eliminator. Yep, that car's badass. I actually met the guy who painted that car. His name's Kenny Youngblood. He did the graphics on that. And I met him through Tom Kelly, the pinstriper guy I was just talking about with you. So
See how you get to meet all these cool people?
it's so cool, yeah, meeting all these people who like are legendary in the the car world and have worked on so many crazy things. Like it's cool to meet them because it's like you get a little starstruck, you know. It's like, what?
Right.
You worked on that, you know? But yeah, my dream car, '59 Impala two-door hardtop, all day long for a classic American car. It's my favorite.
That's how you know we're really car people. When we get starstruck. Like the thought of meeting like a celebrity don't make me starstruck, but the thought of meeting a car celebrity, I'm like, because I
Same.
really want to ask you to let me come and meet the guys. I
Yeah.
really want to meet the Murphy brothers.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh! Anytime you're in LA, or if you ever make it to Oklahoma City, which I don't know how far that is from you, but that's where Big Earl is, Earl Peterson. He is so cool, incredible photo collection. I mean, he's got a photo collection that's like binders thick of just lowrider history, car history, and stuff like that. Anytime you want to meet the Murphy Bros, though, let me know. I can connect you with them. So for sure.
I gotta come to Oklahoma City for a race. And well, I gotta fly to Oklahoma City for a race around Memorial Day. So
Okay,
maybe
yeah,
we can try.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to Big Earl for you. I can connect you. He would be super cool for you to meet him because, man, his stories are just so dope, so cool, man.
Yeah, I definitely gotta go. Do the Murphy brothers still live in Compton?
Oh yeah, they live near Compton, near it. But Victor lives in Compton. Like his family's like rooted there. Like they live by Centennial High School. That's the same high school Kendrick Lamar went to high school at, and like the game, like YG, they all went to Centennial, and they live on the west side. So that's the area that the Murphy brothers are from, and learning about the early neighborhood history was really cool with them too, because it's like, oh yeah, this person, I grew up with them. Like, they knew all about Death Row Records, like Suge Knight and all those people too. Like, it was really cool. It was really cool to hear the stories coming out from their neighborhood. So, but yeah, they're in the Compton area for sure.
Oh yeah. Am I gonna need a bodyguard? No, they'll probably be my bodyguards. They're from there. They
Oh,
can be my
yeah,
bodyguard.
yeah. See, the thing is, see, I do get sometimes being like, I don't look Mexican. I look white, but I'm like half Mexican. So when I pull up to these neighborhoods, even the Mexican neighborhoods, I'm like, dude, I'm like kind of. But if you're on respect with people, and you're talking to the right people, and you're talking to the people who you present yourself in a respectful manner, and you're on good positive energy, you're gonna be fine, no matter what, no matter where you're at. If you're on car history and on car stuff, you stay out of trouble. You're good. Yeah. I mean, the Murphy brothers are quadruple OGs in their neighborhood. They're there since like the 50s, you know? So,
Right.
yeah.
You definitely got to hook me up with them. Now you're making me want to just fly out to Compton next week and be like, hey, I want to talk to you
And you know
guys.
the coolest thing about Bob is he still has his car. And not many people know this. I put it in the interview and I put it in the post. He still has his 57 Chevy, and he just chopped the top on it like an inch, like about that much, to make it even more customized. But he's gonna get that thing resprayed and out back on the streets in the next year and a half.
Oh,
So
wow.
so he's the same car that I did the whole story with Bob Murphy. He still has the same car, which is very, very rare for an original lowrider to keep the same car after all these years. So he's excited about it. He loves his 57 Chevy and all that stuff. So.
I got an idea. I got to call you after this. I
Oh,
have an idea.
oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
give me, call
Yeah,
me, text me,
yeah.
anything. Yeah, we can brainstorm for sure. So.
Definitely got an idea. Listen, let me just tell you, this kind of stuff makes me so happy. This is how I know I'm not a regular girl, right? Because, like, why would this type of stuff make me so happy? Like, I'm supposed to be getting happy about buying clothes and purses and shoes and,
Yep.
Doing girly stuff like makeup. This is making me so happy and giving me so many ideas.
Yeah, you're a gearhead through and through. I mean, you got bitten by the car bug. You know, it's like you're just like we're kind of the same in the same way. Where I don't know if it started with you at a young age, but if it did, it kind of just stays in your DNA throughout your whole life, and it never goes away. You know, so
It
got
did.
bit by the car bug.
My aunt used to have the training day Monte Carlo back in
Oh,
the
I
day.
love that car. Yeah,
So
yeah.
when I was a little girl, I asked her to keep the car till I was old enough to drive, and
Mm-hmm.
she sold the car. That thing hurt my heart.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I
one
know
of
that
these days, I'm
feels.
probably still gonna get me a training day Monte Carlo. Now that's not on my lit. That's not on my immediate list. Which I wanted an 87, 88 Monte Carlo T-top, but I had an 87, but it was a hard top, and I was gonna race it.
Yep.
It had the roll cage, but these guys started out all that foolishness with the racing. So I said, let me settle this one and get what I really want. I wanted a T-top.
Yep.
So I got the 86. Then I want a Grand National.
Mm.
I want an 80s model C10, the boxy one.
Yep.
And I want a 96 Impala.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love 96 Impalas. I love all those cars actually. My grandpa had a square body, short bed, regular cab. It was red and white. It had burgundy velour interiors, like an 85 or 84 Chevy. Super cool. Had a 350 small block in it and dual exhaust. So like I like the square bodies. I've never owned a Grand National. I want one really bad, and I wanted one before Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to put that on the record because there was a guy down the street for me. This is when nobody wanted them back in like the 2000s where I lived. He had like 4 of them in his front yard for sale, and they never sold. Black Grand Nationals, and then now they're worth like so much money, you know. But that's one of my dream. That's one of my dream like 80s built cars. And I do like the 70s Monte Carlos too. I'd have to agree with your list. Those are all really cool cars.
Yeah.
So.
This is my last question. When you're no longer doing this, what would you like for your legacy to be?
I would like to have a book out so people can go back to and educate themselves on custom car history, hydraulic history, and lowrider history, and realize that, oh man, people like me were doing this too back in the day. So it doesn't have to be a single narrative of it's not my culture thing. Because the media right now, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with some of the museums and some of the media outlets because they're not documenting people like Victor or Bob. They're not documenting people like Don Loster, who was a early hydraulics installer. He was the first guy to cut front and back hydraulics in a lot of cars, not just front. They're not documenting people like him because he doesn't fit the narrative that Lowrider Magazine put out in 1977. So I want to put out a book that shows all the history unbiased. You know, it doesn't matter where they're from, what color they are, and that way people can be like, oh, this is also, my culture is also a part of this, you know? So that's my goal. I want to kind of, I'm like a little ant going against a giant army, but I think I'm making waves. You know, Victor's stuff's taken off, and Earl's story's taken off, and I think the more people I interview, the more traction I will get with helping adjust the narrative of lowrider history. So
Right. What would you consider yourself, your title in the in the car world? What would you say you are?
I think I'm a car historian through and through. I'm a car.
Okay.
I'm a custom. I'm a car historian no matter what, but I'm focused, and my studies are custom car culture history, and that ranges from like the 1940s to like the mid 1970s. I don't really go past the mid 1970s because that's really documented. I hit
Right.
that area and that period of custom cars that's not really documented. Early lowrider history, I like to call it. Early lowrider history.
Yeah.
So I'm an early lowrider historian. That's my title. That's what I like to say I am. So
So tell everyone how they can find you, how they can follow you on all of your social media platforms.
yeah, so you can find me at 4664 on Instagram, 4664 on TikTok, and 4664 car history on YouTube. And yeah, I've just started posting on YouTube. I'm going to be posting a lot more interviews on there. Like Bob Murphy's full interview is going to go on there in the next couple weeks. Victor's entire interview is going to go on there in the next couple weeks. So mostly Instagram though. Find me on Instagram and then trickle over to the other places. So
Okay. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here? It's been a whole hour now.
yeah, it feels like it's been 5 minutes.
Right.
Um, I want to say look out for something that's about to be posted on my page. I'm about to interview the Bell family. They're from Los Angeles, and they had a car club called the Low Riders, which was where the name originates from. They're from South Central, and yeah, it's going to kind of change the narrative a little bit because they are actually the earliest documented people to use the term lowrider attached to cars. And surprisingly, it's not surprising to me because I've studied the history, but to a lot of people, they're going to find out, it's black lowrider car people from Los Angeles is where the name
Right.
originates from. So it's pretty cool to like trace that whole wordage of the term lowrider and all the way, and you can kind of trace the whole thing because it's documented and stuff like that. It's part of the culture in South Central, and I can't wait to document it. So yeah, look out for the Bell family interview. I'm going to interview them probably in the next couple weeks, so it'll be interesting.
Well, Ross, thank you so much. You're right. It seems like just 5 minutes, but it's been a whole hour,
Oh
and I
yeah.
try not to hold you guys up
Oh yeah,
because
no
I keep
no
talking. Let me
worries.
just tell you, I'll keep talking. I'll talk. My grandma said I never met a stranger, and she used to be scared when I was a little girl because I was gonna talk to somebody.
Oh yeah, and that's good though. That's a good personality trait for you to have, and honestly, it's gonna make you go so far in life because people you go a lot farther with sugar than you do salt. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if you talk to people and have a good conversation, good things happen. I'm all about good energy, so good energy makes me feel good, and that's what you're projecting on me. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you so much. I know this is not gonna be the last time we talk on social media and otherwise, but I want to tell you I appreciate you so much taking time out of your busy schedule to sit
Oh
down and
yeah,
do this.
no problem. And I'll go live with you one of these days on my page. You know what's funny is like I tried. You went live with me. I don't know if it showed up on my page to my followers that we went live,
Oh
which
wow!
is weird because usually it does.
Right.
But I want to go live with you like one of these days where we can
Okay.
just chat on my page
We can
too,
do that whenever
and then
you're ready. Just let
yeah,
me know.
I'll let you know, and then I can kind of introduce some of my followers to like, hey, this is KP. Like, check her page out. Go watch some of her videos. I feel like since you did this nice thing for me, I want to do something nice for you too. So.
Well, thank you. Whenever you're ready. Now, this will be uploaded on YouTube.
Sweet.
So whenever you're ready, if you want to go live and just let them know that they can catch the interview on YouTube, but I will post it and tag you as well.
Oh, yeah, I'd appreciate it. That'd be awesome.
All right. Thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Ross. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
So, guys, if y'all missed any of tonight's episode of Rydes N Vybes with guests 46 to 64, y'all make sure you catch the full replay on YouTube. Make sure you click the link in my bio and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll catch you guys next week, same day, same time for another episode of Rydes N Vybes. Have a great day.